It's a great honor and a privilege to introduce Marcelle Goldman. We're here in your beautiful home in Tel Aviv. And Marcelle, you originally came from Krakow in Poland.
I was born in Krakow, Poland, on the 7th of November 1926. So I was bar mitzvah in 39, but I made the preparation for bar mitzvah, but in the meantime the war broke out, and the Germans entered Krakow in September 39. So there was no bar mitzvah anymore. And I was born in a family of merchants. My father and mother had a shop in Krakow. We were not very wealthy, but it was a well-established shop, and it brought enough parnasa for us. So when the Germans came to Krakow, they almost immediately liquidated the shop and threw us out from our very nice flat we had, because they were using the flats for the Germans who came to Krakow, because they established in Krakow the main city of the general government. So it was in Krakow, not in Warsaw. So they needed nice and good apartments for their people. So first of all they took the Jews and threw them out. And so we had to leave Krakow. And in 1941 they started to move people from outside of Krakow to the Krakow ghetto. So we found ourselves in ghetto Krakow exactly when they started the war with Russia, between Germany and Russia in 1941, in June. So we moved to ghetto Krakow, and my father was looking for work. He didn't want to stay at home, so he found a Polish person who was producing shoes, and he was a very good professional in this profession. So my father started to work with him and proposed to him that he will open a shop for him. Many Jewish shops were closed in Krakow by the Germans, so he proposed to him that he could open a shop and sell his production directly to the people and not through the intermediary of somebody else. So he could make more money on it. And the Polish guy was very grateful for this, because the shop was a very good success. He succeeded to make a lot of money by opening the shop. So he wanted to show his gratitude to my father. So he told him, look, it seems to me that with the Jews will not be very good future here. I propose to you that I can produce for you a Christian certificate of birthday for your family, and when you need it, you can use it. And my father agreed to it, so he produced to us birthday certificates from a church, and then on the base of these birth certificates we got a Teudot Zeut. That means the identificate no, how you call it, documents, which were everything was true there. The photo and everything was right. Only the name and the religion was different. The name was Galas, and the religion was Roman Catholic. My father told us this is in case of danger, we shall use these documents. In the meantime, we went into ghetto Krakow, as I said, in 41, and in 42 started the Germans started to make the action of showing posyłają transported the Jews to Belzec, because in Belzec was the Vernichtungslager. It was the camp of, but it was not a camp of work. It was a concentration camp just to liquidate the people. That means it was the gas chambers, and they brought the transport and put it directly to the gas chambers in Belzec. So when there were two such actions from the ghetto Krakow, and then my father, after two actions, said, "Okay, now we are going to leave."
Can I ask you, Marcelle, do you remember being in the ghetto at this? You were 13 years.
I remember everything.
And you remember the actions?
It's a big 13.
I remember everything. What I shall tell you, part of what happened in our family. I had a aunt, a sister of my mother, and she lost her husband in the beginning of the war. She was left with her daughter. The daughter was born, I think, in 36 or 37.
She was 4 years old.
She was 4 years old at the time, 4.5 years. And there was the first action, and in the first action everybody should come to Arbeitsamt. I don't know how you call it in English, Arbeitsamt. It was the Office of Employment in ghetto, and there were sitting all these SS men there, and you should come with the Keinkarte, with the
ID.
Your ID card,
identity card, and get a stamp on it. If you got a stamp, you can stay in the ghetto. If you don't get the stamp, you have to go with the transport. So.
And nobody knew where the transport was going. Nobody knew.
Nobody knew. That was the first transport. Nobody knew where the transport is going. And but people who worked got a stamp. People who didn't work didn't got the stamp. So and the story is like this: that my father, who was before a merchant, when the Germans came, had the merchant written his papers. So when the SS man saw it, said, "We don't need merchants in the ghetto." But my father said, "But I'm employed by a factory which is producing shoes." And then he got the stamp.
Wow.
He got the stamp. I should come to the alone to this office because I was over 14, so I should come with this also to get for myself the stamp. Also, in my papers were written that I'm a student. So the SS man said, "We don't need students. We don't need students, and he gave me back the document, and the Jewish policeman and somebody who stood behind me started to show me to get out. But I didn't do it, and I took out a document saying that I am learning to be a Schlosser. How you say a Schlosser?
Somebody who works with
I was working in some small workshop with who was producing something for the Germans, and I showed it. So he said, "Okay." Then he crossed out student, and he put a worker in there and gave me a stamp. So
that saved your life.
That saved my life. I didn't know at the time, because we didn't know where the transport is going. But I got it, so I was very happy. I came back home. I showed my father that I got it, and my father showed me his his document. We used the same story. Actually, he was crossed out as a merchant and put in something else.
And Marcelle, can I ask you, what were the conditions like in the ghetto, in the place you were staying in the ghetto?
Yeah.
What were the conditions? The apartment you were staying in. Did you have? Was it very? Must have been very cramped.
The question is. The question is okay. I tell you, when people say ghetto, everybody thinks about ghetto Warsaw. Because ghetto Warsaw or very, very unpleasant. Unpleasant is not a good word.
Understatement.
It's understatement, but very dangerous place, because people didn't have what to eat, and there was many people died out of hunger. But Krakow was not like this. In Krakow, Krakow was always, the Jews were not, you know, there were many very wealthy people, and if not wealthy, but of middle class. So they were organized very well to help to the poor people, and actually in Krakow ghetto there was no a case of that somebody could die of hunger. There was not such a situation, but there was very difficult situation, because we were living 7 people in one room without any sanitarian things, so you have to live with the very poor positions, very poor conditions. But until they started to send people out, everything was more or less okay. That means nobody was killed and nobody died out of hunger. So, but at that time, the sister of my mother, she didn't work, and she had a small child, so she didn't get the stamp, and also my grandfather and grandmother also didn't get the stamp. So the sister, my grandfather and grandmother went out with the transport. But the sister of my mother hid them in our under jak się mówi piwnica.
Where you put the coal and the, you know.
Under
like a loft, in a loft.
Yeah, down.
How you call it in English?
Like a loft. It's like
loft.
Yeah.
Loft.
Yeah.
Loft,
So-
it's not up, no, it's in the
In
ground.
the ground. So okay,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
went
no.
under
like a
our-
cellar, maybe a
Cellar,
cellar.
okay.
in cellar.
Keller.
In cellar we had the where we kept coal and things like this. We had our cellar. So my mother put her and the child there, hided them in the cellar.
During the day.
It must be very, nobody could know about it because the Germans published that in any case when a person was found in any place without the stamp, that means they will put to death all the people of the house, and therefore we had to hide it also.
The neighbors couldn't know.
The neighbors shouldn't see this because they will have to report to the police. So
And the police was Jewish police.
with Jewish police, but nevertheless, when the Jewish police was received it, they will put it to the Germans. Because it was the question of survival. People, the Germans published an announcement that in case that the person is found in a house without a permit, they will kill all the inhabitants in this house. So
Marcelle, can I ask you, when did you know what happened to your grandparents? Or you didn't, when they went on the,
look, according to
were there rumors
to
that,
the kind of people they were sending, my father was sure that they are going to be killed. But my uncles, the brother of my mother, were not. They were not believing it. It cannot be. They will work someplace like they believed to the Germans. The Germans said they will go to some place in the east and they will work there. But my father didn't believe it because they sent old people, you know, people ill, people who didn't work. That means they. My father knew exactly what happened also in Germany before. That means my father came from a family which was the German language was his first language because he came from the place where Bianca was born in Silesia. I don't know if you know. Silesia is the part of Poland which is on the border of Germany and Czechia, in the exactly triangle, which here was Czechia, was Germany and Poland, and Jews were using the German language because it was before Polish started in 1918. The Silesians were speaking German in this place. So my father was born in the family speaking German. He was also receiving the papers, daily papers from Germany. He was, because all his life he read only German. He spoke Polish and very good Jewish, but he didn't read in these languages. He read only books in German and also newspapers. So he knew what happened in Germany, and so he didn't believe them, and he said they are going to die, the people who were sent to Belzec. The daughter of my aunt was started to be ill, because in September it started to be cold downstairs, and she wanted to have milk. And milk, we didn't have milk at home because it was not permitted to get out.
It's curfew,
so one couldn't buy something. And my aunt said, I will get milk for her with people who still have cows in the ghetto. That means the ghetto was in the proverbs of Krakow, not exactly in the middle. So there were still people who had cows and had milk. She said, I shall go and bring milk. And my mother said, you cannot get out because you do not have the stamp. If we will catch you, they will kill you. But she said, nobody will catch me because I'm going through the gardens, and I shall not go through the street. I know where one can get the milk. And she went out, she never came back.
She never came
because a German policeman caught her someplace and killed her on the spot.
Oy.
So the child was with us, and but it was the time when my father decided to escape the ghetto. Now was the question: what do you do with the child? There were still two uncles in the ghetto. They wanted to take her, but she didn't want to go. She kept my mother by the dress and went with her to every place. Like she felt something that the only person in the world she has was my mother, her aunt.
How old was she?
She was
4.5, and my father was very unhappy with her because she was, we all were blonde and she was black. She was looking like Jewish, and he was afraid because a small child can, where do you come from ghetto? Or how is your name? She will say Landwirt. It's difficult with such a small child to go in the what is called the Irish papers, a paper of Irish people.
Forged papers.
False papers. But it came to it that my mother was blackmailing my father. She said to him, either I take the girl with us, or I stay in the ghetto with her, and you go with our children out, if you want to save them. And my father had to agree to it, and he agreed to take her, but she also didn't have the birth certificate, which because we got the 4 birth certificates for us, but not for her. And I don't know how my father arranged it, because it was forbidden to get out of the ghetto, but I don't know how he got out of the ghetto to the guy he was working with, and got a 5th certificate for her, certificate of birth. And it was agreed with the Polish police, which was actually they were watching the ghetto, around the ghetto. There was a Polish policeman, and he got something. He got a brilliant ring. My mother got from my father when I was born, at that time my father bought to her a ring, very nice one, so he got it, and he promised to take us out of the ghetto, my father and me, to put us on the train, and my mother and the two girls should go next morning also, and he will transfer them to a place outside the ghetto, and we had prepared them a place where they could stay until we take them out of Krakow. Here I have to go back a little bit about where we are going. We were going to a smaller town than Krakow with 200,000 inhabitants called Radom. And this was 200 kilometers from Krakow, direction Warsaw, to the north. Because in Krakow we were known as Jews, so we had to change place. And so my father put in the Krakauer Zeitung, the Germans were
newspaper
printing a paper in Krakow in Germany for Germans. My father was getting the Krakauer Zeitung, and he put an announcement in the paper that he is looking. It was saying that a Polish Fachman, how you say it?
Specialist.
Polish specialist for production in leather is looking for a position outside Krakow, and it came from Radom, from a company which was producing shoes, and maybe you heard about it. It's a Bata.
Sure.
Bata was a big company producing shoes, originally in Czechia, but it was also in Germany and also in Poland. So in Poland it was in Radom. They were producing 2,000 pair shoes per day. It was very big factory. And my father got a invitation to come to present himself on such a day. It was said as a candidate for the job. So the Polish officer came in the evening and took us out exactly as it was promised and arranged to the railway station. In the railway station he bought for us the tickets, and we went with the train to Radom. We came to Radom at 12 o'clock in the night. 12 o'clock in the night was not permitted to be outside. The Germans took at 8 o'clock in the evening, nobody should be outside of his home.
Was it a curfew? It's like a curfew.
Curfew. And but when we came to the railway station, there were a lot of people there in the situation like us, changing trains or something, and were full of police and detectives because people were dealing with the mostly with food, which was forbidden, because food was on the cards. You shouldn't trade with this, and it was very dangerous to be on the railway station. to stay until the morning. So my father decided we are going to a hotel. So we went out of the station, and there were dorożki, how do you say?
With horse. There was no taxi, but
There
with
was
the
A cart, like a cart.
Yeah.
Cars with horses. And we took such a car, and we went to Radom, to the mid of the place. And when we came to a hotel, there was in Radom at that time, I think that was the only hotel, or maybe there were 2 hotels, not more. When we came to the hotel and ring on the bell, the person who came out said, if you want to have a room
Overnight.
in the hotel, you have to go to the Gestapo to get a permit. And so my father started to pertractate to, my father proposed to him, look, we cannot go now to the Gestapo at 12 o'clock in the night, give us a room, we shall stay in the room, and morning I shall get you the permit. Oh, no, it does not exist, and the Gestapo is
vis-a-vis.
vis-a-vis, on the other side of the street, so you can go there. He was very unpleasant, the guy in the hotel. But my father saw that he has no other choice, so he said, Marcel, stay here, I shall go to get the permit. And he had the invitation from Bata that he should come to the meeting. So he went there. Of course, the officer was not happy to be waken up, but my father spoke excellent German, so he told him I had to come here because I'm going to get a job in the Bata factory, and we came from Krakow. We have no place to sleep, and I'm here with my son. And he presented to him the invitation from Bata, and he said, for how long do you want the room? And my father said, no, for 2-3 days it's enough. And he gave us the permit. When my father came back and called the portier to show him this from the Gestapo, the guy changed immediately. His attitude, he was started to talk as the gentleman went to, maybe you want to drink something. He was afraid because somebody who gets to the Gestapo 12 o'clock in the night and got a permit to have a room in the hotel, it must be somebody that it was better for him to
be kind to him.
To be kind, and so it changed absolutely. And we got a nice room. We went to sleep. In the morning, my father went to Bata and left me in the hotel, and told me, Marcel, don't get out of the room, because you are now more than 1 year in the ghetto. In the meantime, things changed in the towns. You can say something or do something which will endanger the family. So better don't do it. Stay in the hotel. And I promised my father that I shall not leave the hotel. My father went there to Bata, and I was looking through the window because the main street was exactly in the same place where the hotel was. So I saw opposite the hotel was a cinema. There were German soldiers going with the Polish young girls to the cinema. mothers with children, what you didn't see in the ghetto, because there was no mother with children in the ghetto, and suddenly I saw in the end of the street there was a shop of Julius Meinl. Julius Meinl was a very known firm which was of Austrian origin. There were
Chocolatier. Chocolatier, no?
no, it was
Sweets.
it was a very good shop of
Sweets. Cakes,
no,
chocolate.
not only sweets. It was good things to eat. You know.
Like maybe a confectionery.
No. It's you know what?
נו, מה אתה רוצה להגיד?
אני רוצה להגיד שזה היה, נו, עכשיו ברק לי בכל השפות כבר ברק לי.
Nice treats, maybe treats.
No, it was cheeses.
Like a delicatessen.
Delicatessen, exactly. And and it was also written on the window chocolate, and I like very much sweet things.
Until today.
I forgot about it. What my father said to me, went down and went directly to the shop. And one came in, and I asked, I want to this and this and this and this, and also chocolate, of course. When she wrapped it, everything, and now she said to me, your cards, how you, because you have to have your
Bone scale, so.
Like a ration card.
Can
Yeah.
the cards for chocolate, you have to have it. And only Germans have it.
Wow.
So you want to, so I made myself that I'm looking for cards in my pockets, and I said, sorry, I forgot the cards at home. What can I got without the cards? So she said to me, you can got everything but not chocolate. I said, okay. So give me other cards, other things. So she gave me bonbons and things like this, and cakes, and I went back to the hotel. My father came back from the.
No, but when you went out of the
When I went out from the hotel, I saw with the big letters, "Nur für Germans." There was only for Germans. There was the Main Hotel.
Wow.
Something what I want to tell you. It is a story which is in my book, and my grandson started to have he had a very nice girl, and she became his girl. So you know, like it is, and they live together so probably he will also marry her sometime. But in the meantime, she came here, and I gave her my book for her father, and because he asked for it. And there is this story I'm telling you. It's in the book, and I write here. It was the shop of Julius Meinl. So he wanted to make something for me. He looked for the Julius Meinl in Israel, and there is no Julius Meinl in Israel until now. But exactly before the Corona started, they brought here things and wanted to open a shop in Tel Aviv, and they had the cups with written Julius Meinl. So he went there, found them in Netanya, and wanted to buy the cups, and they said, we don't sell it. it's only for the shop. And then he said, by my friend wrote a book about you. And they asked, what a book? He showed him the book. They photographed the book and sold him 2 such cups. Bianca will bring them. So my father was...
To you to show it to you.
Yeah, in the video. This is amazing. Bianca, we can just, I'm just gonna, Bianca, if you can just show this, wow.
No,
So-
okay.
Okay.
Oprócz to, no to tam jest nagrecina.
No,
Julius.
here is the same.
No. Ah,
And on the inside it says, I'm just,
Like this?
wow, that's amazing. Julius,
Mile.
mine.
amazing. Thank you, Bianca, thank you. This is incredible, what a story.
Pardon?
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
So may I take it?
So my father was hired as an employee on a very high position as Einkaufsleiter. That means the manager of everything purchased by the company. And so we got a place in the company to live in until we find a place to bring the family. And my father started to work almost immediately.
And your mother came the next day? And your sister?
No, so the next day, after 2 or 3 days, she was in a safe place in Krakow, but on the other side,
Of the
not
ghetto.
in the ghetto, in the other side, with one of the people we knew very well. So she was hiding there, and 2-3 days after, my father got a lorry from the company to bring the hair and the things. So he had to do something, because if we come from Krakow to Radom, we should have something, but we didn't have. So he went to a place where selling the old things in Krakow, and bought a table, thing. So to make an impression that we are liquidating our home in Krakow and bringing the things to Radom. And it is absolutely, I must say, absolutely a story very, very uncommon, because we lived there from 42 until 47, and nobody knew that we are Jews.
Till even after the war?
Through the war, yes.
Through the war?
And my father was nominated director of Bata company in Radom, and he was in a very high position in the company in Bata, and Bata was the biggest factory in the area. So there are people coming. Various people were coming there to see my father because of his position.
And Marcelle, it operated throughout the war? Even during the war, it was still operating?
Yeah, of course.
The whole war, it was still
The
operating?
whole war. Bata had connections with the highest German administrators in Radom. So there were people coming there, German officers, police officers, Gestapo officers, who were coming to the room my father was sitting in, so they were going Heil Hitler.
Wow.
And my father didn't answer Heil Hitler, he answered Grüß Gott. Grüß Gott, that means, how to translate it, like the Muslims are saying Allahu Akbar.
Yeah.
So in German it is Grüß Gott. To Greece, I mean to say hello to God. So Grüß Gott was used in Bayern because it was a Catholic country,
okay.
and in Austria, which was also a Catholic country. So my father used this to answer Heil Hitler. And one of the people who came to see my father was very unhappy with it that my father didn't answer Heil Hitler. So he went to the general manager of the company and said, why Mr. Gallas doesn't say Heil Hitler when I greet him Heil Hitler? He said, because he's not German.
Oh.
Everybody who came with my father to do business of any kind was talking with him, was sure that he was a German because he spoke German like a German, not like a Pole who learned German, but a person who was born with the German language. And therefore the Polish neighbors, when we lived in Radom, were very, very much afraid of my father because they didn't know who he is actually. He didn't know because he was in a position like German, speaking excellent German, but the cards we had for food were Polish.
Ah, okay.
So they didn't know where to put us. And we didn't go to the church on Sundays, and my mother was not with the cross, never.
Wow. Did you go to the school?
No.
You never went to school in this
No,
time?
I was, the Polish people didn't have the school.
They never had a school?
Okay. What are you looking for? Okay.
Yeah, during this time you never went to school?
No, there were no schools for Polish people. There were no schools. I went to the school in the factory. In the factory they opened a school for young people to learn German and also to learn some accountancy things which they knew, but it was on the level of in the place we worked. There was no schools over the normal public school 7 years and then finished. There was no secondary schools in Poland.
And Marcel, did you have any friends? Did you make any friends with any other children of your age?
Yes, the small one, which was not my sister but my cousin. After the war they adopted her, but during the war he was my cousin. But he was officially he was my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was playing with a boy her age. I was to tell you the story about the house we were living in. A Polish guy started to build a house of four or houses, no, not houses, built the houses with 4 apartments. And he didn't finish the house because the war started. When the war started, he couldn't, even after the Germans came, he couldn't continue because the building materials were again against cards. He couldn't get, as a private Polish guy, he couldn't get the materials to finish the building. So Bata came to him with a proposition. He says, we shall finish the house for you, you will be the owner, but in the 4 apartments will live the directors of Bata. And we got one of the 4. Mm-hmm. There were 2 Polish persons, one person over us was a manager of one of the departments, and my father, and on the other side were 2 German families. It is very important. I will tell you a story about it. So my younger sister, which was actually my cousin, went to play with the son of the owner. The owner was living in a house which he built for a gardener. He built, it was a beautiful garden around. The apartments were very beautiful, very luxurious. We were living like kings. And also food we had up to here, no problem. Our only problem was if somebody will recognize us, we are finished. If somebody will recognize that we are Jews, we are finished. But
it never happened.
It didn't happen. Not only didn't happen, you know, the man who owned the house, Mr. Ruzik, was coming each and every evening because it was, you know, at 8 o'clock you couldn't get out, so everybody was at home.
It was a curfew.
So he came to us. There is a play of cards called Preference, and it's very similar to bridge. But 3 people can play it. So he came to play with my father and myself each and every evening, and he told us when we were playing, my mother was giving something to eat, and you know, it became something social. So once in the evening he said, and it was a lot of talking about Jews, because it was the time when the Jews were liquidated in Poland. So were sent well, the liquidation of Jews was exactly on the table. So he was talking about it, and he said, look, between us, he meant the Polish people, Jews cannot survive. He told us, Jews cannot survive. We can recognize the Jew either because of the face, or because of the movements of the hands, or the Polish language they are using. A Jew cannot survive here. He told it to us. But one day came the mother, the wife of him, the mother of the small boy, who was playing with my cousin. And she told my mother, look, don't give the Różyczka, was the name of her, the dress, the black dress, because she looks like Jewish. And my mother said, okay, leave it. She was of course very, very afraid of it, but she never gave her the black dress anymore, because she was afraid. But on the 16th of January 45 came the Russian army to Radom. And the Germans were defeated, went out. When the Russians came and there was no more any danger that we shall be discovered, she came again to my mother. He said, look, we know that you are keeping a Jewish girl.
Wow.
But we kept our mouths shut. We know that Róża, she is not your child.
They knew?
Ken, he said to my mother.
Wow.
You know, my mother was looking like a Polish girl of countryside. My mother had a very good look. At that time was said good.
Mm.
My father was had a black head, but he was looking like German. You saw the.
We'll show the picture. Wow. So what did your mother say when she said that we know you hiding a Jewish girl?
She didn't react.
She didn't react.
It was after the Germans were already not. After the Russians came, so it was we were already free. But she didn't. She didn't say it's right. She didn't say it's not right.
And Marcelle, in all the time that you were there, did you ever hear the neighbors speaking about what's happening to the Jews, that they in the chamber, the gas chambers and the concentration camps?
Not only when we came to Radom, still Jews were working in Bata.
There were still Jews working there.
Still, they were brought from the
work camps.
Lager. They were already not in the ghetto. The ghetto was liquidated. They put the working people in the camp, and they were bringing them from the camp to Bata to work. But it was only, I think, half a year or something, and then they disappeared.
Could your father, did he manage to help them, or your father couldn't help them? He couldn't give them extra food, or?
I tell you something. The story is also in the book.
This is unbelievable.
So it's unbelievable. The story was something is also in the book. Once, before we got the apartment, what I said to you, we were living 6 months in a very bad situation, because there was no place to live in Radom, because everything was full. And we didn't have any other opportunity. We should bring my mother and the 2 girls to Radom and to have a place to live. And it was nothing to find. And we found, together with my father, we found a shop which was on the street. You can come from the street directly to the shop, and it was empty, and the woman who was the owner of the shop, she wanted to rent it, and we said we want to rent it for to leave it. She said, I don't mind. You can do what you want, but it's not for. It's not prepared for a place to live it, because it's a shop. But we didn't have any other possibility, so we rented the shop. We closed the
window.
The window.
The window with something that you couldn't look from outside what is happening. And my father went to Kraków to bring my mother and the two children, and left me with the problem to find something to heat up the place, because it was September and in Poland it's very cold. So I went to the black market, which was for the things like here in Yafo you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there and I found an oven. I brought a guy to install the oven in this shop, and connected this somehow that it will have a possibility that we could fire the oven, and the mother could even make something to eat
to
on
sleep,
it.
the bed, 2 beds, and then
No, my father brought beds and table and things from Krakow. He bought it on Tondeta and put it in the. He brought it, so this was not a problem. The furniture was not a problem. You could buy it on the black market, but the problem was to heat the place. So I bought an oven and put it in the house. We put the something to get the dim.
when you
The smoke.
The smoke, yes,
Yeah.
to put the smoke out, and she could also to make something to eat on it, and it was also heating the
apartment, the shop.
The coal and the trees for the we got from the company. So the company was sending us this. We didn't pay for it even. Didn't have to pay for it. They put it in the cellar.
In the cellar.
Yeah, and we had a guy who was bringing it from the cellar each day. Okay, but once, now I am telling you something which was written in the book. Once came the guy in the afternoon to my mother and said, there is nothing there. No coal, no nothing. You cannot. We finished everything, but he came to say it after it was nothing really. And then my mother was said, "What will I do? We cannot stay during the night in unheated place because it was almost zero and less temperature." So she went to my father, who was still in the working. That was in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and she went there and told my father, because there were no telephones, she couldn't call him. So she went there and said, "Look, we are in a situation that you have to arrange this today, because we cannot stay during the night without heating." The social director of the company was a German guy. I remember his name until today. Rishka was his name. My father went to him and said, "I need that somebody brings us the coals and drzewo, jak powiedzieć drzewo? Timber,
wood, the wood. Logs, like logs for the fire.
For the fire. Okay, and he said, "How can I bring you now? I do not have people. Already went home, the people." So my father told him, I don't know how, but I am in a situation that we need it for this night. Okay. He promised my father that he will do whatever he can to bring us the fuel. And my father went home, and we were sitting eating supper together. Now suddenly came a guy from neighborhood and said to us, look, there is a lorry coming to you, and the people are asking for Gallas family. So we had, what can it be? You know, we were afraid. He was with his police on the lorry. But we didn't have time to think about something because they already came. And there came a Unteroffizier, that means somebody with rank, how you call it, in somebody who has the rank of sergeant, came in and asked, where is Herr Director Goldman? When he said Gallas. When he said Herr Director Gallas, we knew already that he is not going to kill us. He was going to look for us. He said Herr Director Gallas. And when we went out to see, there was a big lorry full of coal and timber, and there were sitting Jews on this with the
stripes that
they were, you know, they had the uniform of the camp, and German police looking on them, and they were started to put it in the cellar. Now, when
and you, Marcelle, you saw this? You remember seeing it?
Yes, I remember it.
It must have been very difficult to see fellow.
Yeah, look, I looked at my mother. My mother, when he was very excited, he got a red plamy, jak powiesz plamy?
Spots.
Spots.
Red spots. She was red.
He got red.
She was excited. She was red on the face.
When she was excited, she was red, and she said to me, "Look at them. They are my brothers."
Wow.
Because we left her brothers in ghetto, and then, but he immediately. You know, the women, they have a very good instinct to
what to do on the spot.
What one should do in a situation like this. My mother took all the cards, bread cards we had, and also on the bread cards we were getting bread and also confiture. That means
marmalade, no?
Marmalade. And we are not using this because my mother made something like pita on the because the bread was not very good for us, but she was making a
kind
pita,
of sandwich.
A pita on the eisen on the oven, so we are not using the cards. And we went, and he said to me, "Take some something we shall take the bread." We went there to the
bakery.
To the bakery. We took all the bread which we didn't take for a long time, and also we bought also the marmalade we got on the carts and brought it home, and my mother started to cut it and to put the marmalade, and she went out and first gave it to the Germans, to the and the hot tea, and to the Germans, and then he started to give it also to the Jews. And when they saw it, the sergeant said to her, Frau Gallas, they Yehudim.
They Jews.
They are Jews. He didn't understand that he knows that they are Jews. So he said, these are Jews. And my mother said, if they are working, they can have
to eat.
Something to eat. So he didn't object, and she gave him this bread, and all the bread which was left, she gave them and said, take this to the camp.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
And Marcelle, can I just mention, your mother must have been a little bit nervous that some of the Jews who were from the camps might have even recognized her, and they might have said...
No, it was the people from Radom, not from Krakow.
But the Jews that were working.
The Jews were working, it was Jews from Radom.
But there still might have been a little...
No. It was not a possibility. Not a possibility.
But she gave them to eat. She gave
him the bread, and they took the bread. They brought. It's just one simple. The second story in the book is also of this time. You know, my father got from his father talit.
A talit.
A talit. My grandfather, on the side of my father, died when my father was not even 13, very early. And he got his talit from him before he died. So, the talit from my father was under the things we had a very big I don't know how to call you
something
know,
like chemodan. You know what is chemodan?
No.
Like a chest.
No. Kufer. Jak powiesz kufer?
When you travel, where you give your things?
It was a place.
No, not a suitcase, but a big one.
Yeah, it's like a...
No, it was a place what you keep. You can open it and put things in.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was done in Poland, just from Kosz, from from wood.
From wood.
It was done from wood, and you can keep things there.
Mm.
And my mother was keeping there the
towels and
towels. Pościelową bieliznę, powiesz? The things of bed, you know, and this like it was, and beneath under this were the talit.
Wow.
And when she brought it from ghetto, she took everything, this to the place she was, and then it came with us to Radom. And we didn't know that it is there. And but after a while, she looked for something, and she suddenly realized there is there. But she didn't mind, and she left it there. And then what happened? One day in the afternoon, we were at home already, finished the work, and we were at home. Suddenly came somebody from the neighborhood and said, look, the Germans are encircling all the place and looking for black market, for the things from the black market. So they are looking place after place after place, going from one house to the other and
searching for
controlling things. And in the same day, we had a
מה אתה רוצה להגיד?
brakuje mi słów. Pranie, dzień prania. Washing day. There was a washing day.
And there was
washing. There was a washing lady who was coming to us at that day every 2 months or 3 months. So
to make a big washing.
For a big washing, to wash the bed things and
towels and
and things like this. She was a big woman and
a Polish lady.
Polish, of course, Polish lady, and mother was buying for that day a lot of meat and things like that, because she said he needs to eat very well because she's running the things. So she was, my mother was preparing for that day meat and things like this, good food, everything from the black market, of course. And but my father was thinking about the talit, because this big plate was exactly in the kitchen. So somebody who was going in look at. So the first thing what they will do, will open it and look for it, for the. And when they look for it, and they will find the talit. And maybe the Germans will not know what it is, but the Polish woman will know, because she was working for Jews also before. So this was the situation we were in. We couldn't take it out because she was there, and we cannot do anything. And in the meantime, there was somebody knocking on the door, and 2 Schupo were standing there. Schupo was the German police. They were, during the war, in the occupied countries, they were like soldiers with the steel helmets on the and Schmeisser. You know what is Schmeisser? It's the automatic rifle on the. So they were 2 like this, 2 meters tall. So my father was standing in the room, in the door, and not letting them in. He was standing, and he said, like he doesn't know what they do actually. So he asked them, "What can I do for you?" Something like this, and they were very. It was an unexpected question because when they came to a Polish place, the Poles were afraid. They gave them to come in. My father was standing in the door and asking what so they didn't know what to answer. They said, "We are controlling for black market things." And My father said to them, "I want to see the commanding officer." And at that time, opened the door
Vis-a-vis.
vis-a-vis. It was a German family living there, and a guy with the, they had all.
You know what is Hakenkreuz?
Hakenkreuz. This
Germans,
of the Nazi
Yeah.
of the Nazis. He had it on his jacket. Opened the door. He saw two German police and my father standing, and asked them, "What is up here?" And they started to explain to him that they are looking for the goods of the black market. And he asked them, "Do you think that the directors of Bata are doing in the black market?" And they looked at him and they saw the Nazi Hakenkreuz.
The Iron Cross, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and they didn't know with whom they are talking exactly, so they said, "Excuse us," saluted and went.
Wow. Unbelievable. What did you do with the talus? Did they take the talus out?
The talit is here.
You have. Can we see the talus?
When our grandson was bar mitzvah,
Yeah.
so Marcel took out the
talus.
talit and he gave it to him.
Wow. And
No, I didn't give it to him. It was the
No, we
time I wear
no,
the
during
talit.
the ceremony
I shall
of
tell
bar
him when
mitzvah.
he marries.
when he marries, wow.
Okay. When he is married, I shall give him the talit.
Wow.
No, but when he was 13,
Because the story was that he was prepared. He wanted to have bar mitzvah on the Masada, and so he was prepared by somebody for the bar mitzvah, and we all came to Yam HaMelach, to the Dead City, and we were in a hotel. And in the evening we had a meal, and we sat all to the dinner, and he said the guy who prepared him, he said we have to take up because on the Masada there are only ruins, so of the synagogue. Nothing is there. So he said we have to bring something to see on
a
the
small carpet,
small carpet,
small carpet,
talitot and things, and so we shall go with the cabin, but others will go up. The young will go up by foot. Okay, but they will walk. And I said, I have my talit.
Right.
So he asked me how it is that you have a talit. He knows me that I am not a religious person. I told him the story. And when he heard the story, he said, "You have to tell the story in the synagogue." And I told him I cannot tell the story because I'm getting too excited about it.
It's emotional, very emotional.
But I brought the talit and I wear the talit because my grandson is a Cohen. So they were.
You know what's the Cohen. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Marcel, this is something unbelievable.
So, so when they were doing the Brechat Kochanim, I was also visiting it.
Sure. Wow. Wow.
So, to tell you the epilogue of the story.
Can I just ask, Marcelle, because this is something I've never ever heard something like this. When they brought the Jewish for the 6 months, the inmates from the camps to the Bata, and your father was there, it must have been very hard for him to see Jews were working in the factory and they were from the camps. It must have been extremely difficult.
Well, we didn't meet them actually. We saw them from a distance. We never approached them.
You couldn't help or?
No, we didn't approach them. It was too dangerous. We couldn't approach them.
But it must have been for you also very hard to see.
Yes,
fellow.
We know this as this situation of all the Jews.
So you knew what was happening.
We knew exactly what was happening. You know, the story is also that in the same Makolet, the shop with the food, I was going with my mother there to make some purchases of food, and I don't remember how it was that. I think it was on Saturday when we didn't work, because it was at the time it still was we could see what is happening on the street. It was not dark before the darkness, and when we were in the shop, suddenly came a German car with a loudspeaker, and they were talking, saying that nobody should look from the windows, because if they see somebody looking from the windows, they will shoot. And they were actually leading the Jews from the liquidated ghetto or liquidated camp, actually to the train station to send them out. And but everybody was looking out, because in the shop was a door to the street, and the door was covered with like this. You see, you can see through it. So we were standing near the door, and we saw that they are leading the Jews. And my mother couldn't see it without saying something, which was of course dangerous, but she said, but the small children, what they are ashamed of. She said it aloud. And then the owner of the shop said, Pani Galasova, Mrs. Galas, at Lo Mevina, you don't understand that from the small child will become a Jew. I will kill them, and I will took their eyes out. Danżywo. I shall took their eyes out and kill them, because a big Jew will become from the child.
Wow.
Nobody
and this was Polish.
Polish, and my mother didn't react to it, and nobody reacted. But this was the of course, not all the Polish were feeling like this, but this guy was feeling like this.
Wow.
We were avoiding any meeting with Jews. But in this case, where they brought us the call, and they came to us. So it was.
And what your mother did could have saved their lives because she gave them food to eat.
Yeah, of course.
Marcelle, could you show pictures of your parents from your book? If you could just show.
I showed you.
But if we can show in the video the. Could you show the front of the book, Marcelle?
Sorry?
If you could show the front of the book.
The moment
The cover.
I have to find the place.
But his sister, she isn't his sister.
It's a cousin.
It's a cousin. They adopted after the war
And where does she live?
in Haifa.
So one you can see here is my mother with me and my sister in Krakow in 38 or 39.
Beautiful. And can I see the cover of the book?
Yeah, of course.
The cover is
That's in Polish.
in Polish. Wow. And you have.
There?
Nie,
There?
nie, daj mi to. Co ty? Ja myślę, że ty jesteś.
And Marcelle, and your sister, she's still alive? Your sister?
His real sister,
Yeah.
no, she died of cancer. But the cousin that now she's his sister, she lives in Haifa.
This is my grandmother and grandfather.
I'm just going to close in. That were your and they were taken in the first action.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from Ghetto Krakow. And this is my wife with her parents.
This is my father, my mother, and me, and my sister down.
And your sister is the smaller one.
Now the small one is
It's
me.
you. Oh, and
Yeah. I'm standing there.
oh, okay. Wow. And Moshe, and a picture of your father.
Yeah, I come to it. Here are our
Documents.
Polish documents.
I'm going to just. Were these the forged documents?
Yeah, the Christian documents.
And Marcelle, where are these documents today? Do you still have the documents?
Yes, I have the documents.
So those documents saved your life.
Yeah.
נו, אתה יכול ככה לעבור, נו, אתה אף פעם לא תגיע לזה. מה אתה מחפש?
Moi
It's a-
rodzice
It's a
szukam.
picture of the
Nie wyszli.
That's you. And what year were you married?
In 1954.
In
1954.
It's beautiful.
We are here still young.
We are 66 years
Wow, Ken and Horace.
married.
My mother looked at this and said, "You look here like a married couple going out of a church." But we both don't look Jewish.
But it's beautiful.
Going out of church.
Sure. And if you have do you have a picture with your father?
They were looking for it.
And while we're looking, if you can hold us, this is a picture of Moshe in Krakow.
This is Marcelle.
Okay, if we can, but if we can just show the book, the picture of the cover. If you could show it, yeah, that's wonderful.
Like you
Yeah,
wanted.
please. So this is a picture of your husband, of Marcelle in Krakow.
Yeah, I think in first degree. It's in first class when you went to school.
Pokaż mi to.
And that's the book that Marcelle, you've written 2 books in Polish and in Hebrew.
Polish and Hebrew, yeah.
Powiedz mi, jak ja nie mogę znaleźć moich rodziców?
Daj mi, ja ci to poszukam.
Nie, tutaj nie będzie. Może tutaj będzie.
And while we're looking, Marcelle, can I ask, when the Russians, when they came to the town after the Germans were defeated, do you remember the end of the war?
Yeah, I remember everything. What do you want to ask?
And how was your feeling when the war ended? It must have been a very special.
On the one side, we are very happy that there is no more danger of being recognized. But we still stayed on the, what you say, false papers, because we were afraid. You don't know the situation in Poland after the Russian game. It still was a war.
And Marcelle, how do you feel? Because after the war, there were pogroms in Poland after the war as well. There were Jews that were killed in Poland after by the Poles.
Because of that, my parents moved to Czechia. They went to Prague. Ja nie znajduję tego.
And how long did you remain in Prague before you came?
No, I didn't go to Prague with my parents.
Oh, you didn't?
Because I was studying in Poland, in Krakow, in the Academia for merchandise, for merchants. And because of this, what I was studying, I left Poland in '49, directly to Eretz.
To Israel, wow.
My parents came from
I was in during the war. I was in Kyrgyzstan with my parents and my sister, and not when have we been in Kyrgyzstan? A few years ago, I told him that we have a possibility. I want to go back to see where I was. And this is, so you can see.
Okay, it's
During the war, I left. I was in Kyrgyzstan. She is my age. She is my age.
Wow, you're so Debbie. She's your age. Wow.
Yeah. She looks like my grandmother,
That's
no?
so true.
My mother.
Wow. And Marcelle, while we're looking, can I ask you what message would you give to your grandchildren and to you've gone through so much and you've seen so much. What message could you give to the future generation, to your grandchildren and to the future generations?
Look, I think that first of all, what we are giving our daughter, because we had 2 children, but we lost our son, and we have only daughter. And
3 granddaughters.
What I left to my daughter and the granddaughter children, I think, is how to live the honestly and in the right way, to see to pass the life. You don't do it on purpose. You cannot show your children something that is not in you. You can only show what is in you. And I mean, if you are a decent guy and you pass through the life like we pass through our life, working very hard and achieving a lot, you see that we are in a good situation. But we started with 0, exactly 0 in 1954. Here you have my parents.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
Is it the parents, Marcelle?
Yeah.
Ifu יש parents.
Yeah, it's over here.
Yeah, נכון.
Wow, that's your father and your mother, sure.
Yeah.
It's father and mother.
Marcelle, that is so. And that's the part. Next to it is the passports.
Sorry?
That's the.
No, it was a certificate of identity before the war.
Before the war.
In the name of Goldman Max and Goldman Sarah.
That was the.
If you look at you see that my mother was looking like a Polish peasant,
Yeah.
and my father like a German.
And that's the ID documents. I'm going to just. But Marcelle, you know, what you said is so true, because your father worked and was honest, and he's the person that he worked for had Karasatov. He wanted to repay him, and he gave him the documents changing the name and saying, and that saved your lives. Wow, it's unbelievable. Marcelle, I just want to...
It's an unbelievable story, because I tell you something. Jews were surviving on the Christian papers, but either hiding or living alone. but I do not know actually about families which was full family together, living normal life, normal.
Staying in Poland, because we stayed in
No, I'm not saying about
in
Russia.
in Soviet Russia. So it's, but who stays in Poland had to stay somehow.
Who stayed, and that the neighbor knew that your cousin was Jewish, and she never told. She never.
But she didn't know that that is
No,
a cousin.
she was. She couldn't be sure, but she was.
She was a decent person. She was
Okay, decent, or she thought that we are a Christian family keeping a Jewish child,
Wow.
which was very. It was happening all the time.
But a lot of Christian families that kept Jewish children were actually, they were informed on and they were killed.
Yeah.
So Marcelle, I just want to thank you. I'm going to come in. Okay. I just want to thank you so much. This has been for me the greatest honor and privilege. Bemet in Kol Halev, with my whole heart. I'm so grateful to you and to Bella, to you as well, for inviting me into your home and for telling me your story, which is very emotional and very difficult, but it's so inspiring.
Yeah.
It is such a special story, and I'm so grateful. And at Mayvestrim, in good health and happiness and mazel and bracha, and you both are extraordinary.
Thank you very much.
And you should just have good health, and at Mayvestrim till 120 in very good health, 120 plus VAT. But I am so grateful to you. I really am, and Bella as well. It's been such a privilege to be here and to listen to you.
But how did you come to us?
I should be.
How did you
tell you.
know
I'll be
that
very
we
grateful
exist?
if you could send it to me.
Of course, I'll send it
that
to
I
everyone,
can
for
see
sure.
it in the computer.
For sure, and all the very, very best. Bemet toda rabba im kol halev. Thank you
No,
so much.
But I